RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Iron Debate, all part of RX Muscle's Iron Road to the 2017 Olympia, brought to you by Yamamoto Nutrition and Protein USA. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. Glad you can join us. We're going to have two topics on this show, two loaded topics for debate as we build the weekend of September 14th into this in Las Vegas. Of course, we will be there to bring the best coverage of the 2017 Olympia weekend. As we now bring in our panel, first, Cape Coral, Florida man, with the final word on all topics, Dave Palumbo, founder of RxMuscle.com. We go to boss number 2 over in Guadalajara, Mexico, John Romano. Up in Canada, glad he could join us. His second or third appearance on the show, Fouad, Abiad, IFBB Pro. And then the next state over to me in New Jersey, the man they call Quadro, Guy Cisternino. Again, two topics on the show. Of course, last week was a very heavy and tragic week in the world of bodybuilding. Two very high-profile deaths, and also the death of Kyle Norris, known very well to bodybuilding fans. But, of course, this started off with the shock of Dallas McCarver, 26 years old, and then later in the week, Rich Piana dying after nearly 18 days and medically. That is going to be our second topic. The discussion on that, as well as what can be done in terms of testing and screening the health of active IFBB pros. But the first topic of this show is going to be the 212 Olympia, better known as the Flex Lewis division. Flex Lewis now sitting on a reign of 5 straight championships. And the question is this: can he be beat? We've asked the same question about Phil Heath, and you've gotten about 18 different answers and 7 different people who can knock him off. That isn't so straightforward, though, with Flex Lewis. Fouad, Abiad, we're going to go to you first. Flex Lewis, in the form that we have seen him in, and given the recent pictures, now that might not count for much, but the recent pictures of Flex Lewis, in your opinion, is he untouchable or can he be beat?
I think right now Flex kind of stands alone. The only thing I think might give anybody else a chance is Dallas's passing has to weigh pretty heavily on Flex because they're friends. So if anything can derail him at all, that would be it. But I actually think it's going to make him come in stronger. So I don't think there's any. I know everybody talks about Ascanani. I just don't think he's at Flex's caliber yet.
It's an interesting angle you bring up. Let me go back to just in terms of, from what you've observed of Flex Lewis over the last 5 years, and in the sense that he stands alone in that division, what is it to you that makes him so dominant in that division now for half a decade?
I think Flex can actually stand in the open class and probably hurt a few feelings. I mean, there's not many guys that have his clean lines, his proportions. I mean, everything is even. He has no lagging body parts. The conditioning he comes with is just like, he's usually the most conditioned guy in a show. So when you put all the factors together, I just don't see anybody standing with him. I mean, if he ever did make the move to open, I think he'd be really competitive as well.
It's a topic that we brought up before after last year's Olympia, I believe, whether Flex should move to the open and how he would do. But let's go to the man who's had the best view of Flex Lewis on the same stage, Guy Cisternino. Can Flex, in this current lineup, can he be beat? Can he be pushed?
Well, I'm not there, so I'm going to say no, he can't be beat. But in all honesty, one thing that Flex has that others don't is Flex has the most gorgeous lines of, I think, one of, some of the only bodybuilders. You have your freaks, like Jose, Ashkenani, who are packed with muscle. But unfortunately, the bodybuilding isn't just about muscle. It's about line, symmetry, aesthetics, conditioning. I think that's where Flex kind of beats us all. And I the Flex almost every day. I talked to him the day that Dallas passed and moving forward. And, Fouad said it possibly could derail him. At this point, I think he's got more fuel in the fire ever because he's got now the Olympia for him takes on a completely different meaning. So I think you're actually probably going to see one of the best versions of Flex that we haven't seen in a while. Ashkenani is a close, runner-up from last year, and he won the Arnold Classic. And Ashkenani's a great guy. We text all the time. My knock on Ashkenani is the same as it was last year. Tremendous upper body, very lacking from the waist down. He does have some hanging hamstrings from the side, from the back, unless he brought it up. He didn't have really hams from the back because you didn't see the separation. He didn't have striations in his glutes, and he lacked a lot of separation in his quads. If he brings that up, it will be close. Do I think it's going to be close enough? No. Other than that, David Henry's the same way, whereas his lower body lacks. And I think, Jose's got, as far as Ashkenani and David, I think Jose beats them too as far as total package. But, they obviously moved Ashkenani the second last year. But, I think with the lineup that I see, Flex should walk away with an easy number 6 up in his belt.
Well, Guy, since both you and Fouad brought up Abiad Ashkenani, before I go to John Romano, Abiad Ashkenani, keep in mind, last year went from earning his pro card to standing second at the Olympia. And then, again, you mentioned sort of the veterans of the 212 division. You yourself not being there. Hide Yamagishi's not going to be there. I mean, you're looking at David Henry, Jose Raymond as sort of the usual suspects. Could there be another guy like a Derek Lunsford who come from out of nowhere maybe and do what Abiad Ashkenani did, and that is go toe-to-toe? Or do you not see that happening? Do you see this coming down essentially between Flex and Abiad Ashkenani?
I think it's going to come between – I think your top 4 is going to be Flex, Ashkenani, Jose, and David. And I think 2, 3, and 4 can flip anyway. It could be 2, 3, and 4. It could be Jose, Ashkenani, David. It could be David, Ashkenani, Jose. I mean, I think those 2, 3, and 4 can be flip-flop. And I think your dark horse is going to be the 5th spot on that Olympia stage. I think that's where that's a toss-up.
John Romano, let's go to you. And again, for the last year or so, the question has been asked, can Flex be beat? Can Phil Heath be beat? Well, the answer is a little bit more, vague when it comes to Phil Heath, but with Flex is generally no. He stands in a class of his own. Can you make an argument that this could be an Olympia where somebody else comes in and maybe knocks him off his perch, or do you see him as untouchable?
This year, no. I mean, it could happen someday, but not now. He's all there, and like Guy said, I think you're going to really see him, shine this year. So he's got a lot on motivating him. So, by himself, I mean, he's one of those outliers, he's one of those guys that's just got it all going on, and he's got a great personality on top of it. And fans like him. He's got all the lights are green for him. So, I don't see anybody in the lineup right now that's gonna walk away with it from him. Not possible. Like you said, top can flop either way behind him, and it's not going to be no one's going to be able to split that hair and put an argument one way or another. But anything can happen. People get sick. People get flu. People get delayed at the airport. Whatever. I mean, anything can happen. But I mean, if all goes like it's supposed to go, I don't see anything happening that's going to deny him number 6.
Well, so far the unanimous number 2 has been Abiad Ashkenani winning the Arnold Classic 212 division this past March, getting second last year in his rookie campaign. Could you make an argument for anybody else, maybe out of the class of Jose Raymond and David Henry, for standing number 2 in that division?
Me?
Yeah,
of course. I mean, David Henry is, David Henry's been an awesome bodybuilder throughout a long time now. Jose, come on, Jose by himself looks 6 feet tall. I mean, the guy's incredible. I mean, he's got a lot of potential. Ashkenazi, I mean, it could go either way. Those guys, you're splitting hairs. You're splitting little tiny thin blonde hairs at that point. I mean, you really are. So. I could see anything could happen, and honestly, it's what makes that division to me. I like watching 212 better than I like watching the Open. The guys are in better shape. Competition's better. The lineup's usually thicker. I'm much more entertained by that division than the Open for that reason.
Let's go to Dave Palumbo, final word on this one. And it's funny because John said essentially the sentiment that we had echoed heading into the Arnold Classic, and that is that without Flex Lewis, the 212 was going to be more wide open and, in a sense, more compelling in terms of who's going to come out on top, whereas in the Open it was basically Cedric or Dallas. Dave, do you see Flex as completely untouchable, or can anyone push him?
I've been texting with him a little bit, since the death of Dallas McCarver, and the truth is that even though he is very emotionally, distraught, I think he's been in shape for this show already for a couple of weeks. I think he can sit home and eat, Pop-Tarts and he's still be in the best shape of his life. Having said that, I think John made a good point. Anyone can get sick, food poisoning, the flu. When you're all dehydrated and you're 0% body fat, sometimes your immune system gets wacky. So, anything can happen. You can't say it's a sure thing. If he comes in at his best or close to it, it probably will be a win for him. If he doesn't, however, the door's open. Now, here's the thing I think a lot of people are not considering. Everyone's talking about Ashkenani, David Henry, because Henry was second at the Arnold. A lot of people thought he should have won. I just interviewed him. He looks enormous. He's sitting at 217 right now, which is the biggest I've seen him in a long time. So he certainly is a dangerous factor, but I think you got to remember that Jose Raymond was certainly not at his best at the Olympia last year, by his own admission, okay? And at the Arnold, he was better, but he could have been better. He still could have been, something was a little still off with him. I think he's pissed. I think he's mad that people are not, taking him seriously anymore. He's a super fierce competitor, even though he might play it off as though he doesn't care that much. I think he's the most dangerous guy in the lineup right now, and I think that he's got legs, which is something that David Henry is lacking and Ashkenani's lacking. And so if anyone can beat Flex Lewis, it's going to be Jose Raymond because he's complete from top to bottom. If he comes in dry, hard, and he's able to present his physique like I've seen him do in the past with the vacuum pose and all that, I think that he's probably the most dangerous guy in the lineup. The question is, will we see the best Jose Raymond on stage? And I don't know. I've seen some progress photos. He looks pretty damn good to me. But until we get out to Vegas and see him up on that stage, no one will know. But I think he's the most dangerous guy for Flex Lewis. If Flex Lewis comes in a little off, a little flat or anything, Jose is going to be in there taking advantage of that. Ashkenani's a new guy. He's got a lot of wow. When he's in shape, he's got some pretty, freaky body parts. But I don't think he's as complete as Jose is. And I think that David Henry, while he's got the prettiest muscle up there with the best shapes, I think because of his legs, when he stands next to Flex and when he stands next to Jose, he looks a little shallow. If he brought those legs up like he's implying to me, I think then we might be in for a three-man race up there.
You were very high on, after his New York Pro win, Ronnie Raquel, going from the Open to 212.
My problem with Ronnie Raquel is he doesn't get that hard from behind. Never has, never will probably. His glutes and hamstrings just don't get as dry and grainy as these other guys. He's the kind of guy that in a lineup that's maybe not quite as dominant, okay, as it should be, he will take advantage and win these lineups because he's got pretty muscle bellies and he looks big. He looks like an Open competitor in the 212 division, and that's his advantage. However, standing next to a guy like Jose or Flex or even David Henry from behind, these guys all have crazy striated lower backs and glutes and hams, and I just don't see that from Ronnie Raquel. So I think he's going to have I think he's going to have trouble making the top 5 here, actually.
I'm going to go around the panel for a quick one on this because it was introduced and it's something that we have discussed in the past, and I'm sure that at the end of the Olympia weekend we'll be discussing it again, and that is the idea of Flex Lewis eventually competing at the Open division. So let's start with that. Guy Cisternino, 1, is it something that you could see him having success in? And 2, is it worth it for him to take that step, given, again, competing against the big boys, believing a division where he has been dominant?
Could he, do well at it? Yeah, I'm not Flex Lewis. I competed in a couple Open shows this year, and, I took 5th in Australia with guys that were fucking 50 pounds heavier than me. So if I could do it, and Flex has already competed in a couple open shows and made his presence known. I know Flex. He's not going to move to open. He's got a legacy in the 212, and he knows his legacy is in the 212. I think it would be stupid to – I mean, I'm not saying it would be stupid to jump into the open shows here and there, but to make a complete transition into the open and leave the 212, he's not going to do. I know him. I'm one of his best friends. I know him better than anybody, and I know for a fact his legacy is in the 212. And, he maybe might hop into a couple open shows, but that man ain't going anywhere but 212. If he goes anywhere, it's retirement.
Fouad?
I agree with Guy in one point. He's probably not going to go, but just for speculation's sake, I'm going to say, why wouldn't he? Like, why shouldn't he? If Flex stepped onto the Olympia stage, can you really not see him in the top 5? I mean, I think it's kind of like he fits into that top 5 pretty easily. I mean, Lee Priest was a perennial top 6 at the Olympia, and I think Flex Lewis is better. I mean, he comes in harder. He's got better lines. So even though he's not gonna, I think the fans would be go pretty crazy to see it. You know what I mean? Like, to see Flex standing up there next to guys beating a Sean Roden or beating a Dexter potentially. I mean, I honestly could see Flex standing with those guys, where I don't know if too many other 212s could. So why not? Why not take the chance?
John?
Mr. Abiad makes a great point. I mean, this is sports entertainment to some degree. It's kind of boring. I mean, I went through this in the Ronnie era. It was like I didn't want to stay to the end of the show because we knew he was going to win. It's like, 8 in a row, a fucking lot of Olympias, And we just got off, Dorian and Haney. So there was this, decades and 3 champions, and that gets kind of boring. So, for us, for the fans, it would be great to see Flex Lewis mixed up in the open, and like I don't see him outside of the top 5 at any given Olympia or Arnold Classic. Bigger is not necessarily better. I mean, you've got what's he weigh in the off season? He definitely gets up for the 230s, right, or more, 240s. Okay, so maintain some of that. Come in and compete in the open and give us something to chew on. I think it's great. I think it would be a great thing. I mean, yes, he dominates 212. We know he dominates 212. You can get any round table you want in America and talk about Flex Lewis dominating 212 while I'm snoring, because it's going to happen. But if he comes into the open, that's something to watch. And and wouldn't it be great if we didn't just automatically give it to Phil? So, you've got crossover, the fact that the reigning champ may not win, and then you got reason to buy a ticket, and the tickets ain't cheap. So if you're going to spend $800 on or more on a ticket package, let's watch something good.
Dave, respond to actually, Fouad, let's go back to you.
Sorry, Guy, I cut you off there. Listen, I'm a fan of the sport as much as I am passionate about doing it. I've always wanted to see Flex make that jump. And it's actually exactly for the reason John just said. I don't want to sit here and go, yeah, he's going to destroy everybody. I just kind of want to see where he fits,
Trouble. You want to see trouble.
Yeah, I want him to stir things up a bit.
Yeah.
Guy?
So I think it would be more interesting if they allowed crossovers like they did a couple years ago, back when Kevin English did the open and took second to Kai Green. But playing devil's advocate to Fouad and John, if you were fucking Tom Brady and this quarterback of the fucking Patriots, would you go to the Miami fucking Dolphins? No.
Well, yeah, there's $1 billion at stake over here. We're talking about plastic.
Okay, wait. There's just one thing I want to say. His legacy is intact forever.
That's the point I was going to ask.
Like nobody is gonna, if he makes the jump and even if he takes 10th at the Olympia, nobody is gonna say, well, Flex Lewis sucks. He's always gonna be the greatest 212 to this day, to this point, anyway. And so I don't think it hurts him in any way to do it, but I think it would get fans more excited than even when Kevin Levrone came back.
I think if they did a crossover for the 212 and open, I think that would make it exciting, because then Listen, let's be honest. All the 212 guys, you put them next to an open guy, they're at a fucking handicap. It's like putting McGregor in the ring with fucking Floyd Mayweather. He's playing boxing against UFC. So it will be a fight and something good to watch, yeah, but you still want even playing ground. As much as Flex would be great and do well at open shows, I don't see him winning an open Olympia. So if they allowed crossovers and let the 212 guys battle it out, and then if they wanted to jump up to the bigger guys, they allowed classic to come to bodybuilding. Why not?
Wait a minute.
Well, the crossover and the open and then make it interesting.
But wait a minute. That's a chance you take. You don't get to dip your shit in both sides.
Hey, listen, why don't you fucking cut down to 212, pal? Right?
Listen, you don't get to take my check and your check.
Listen, if he's fucking 212 taking your check, he deserves it.
Listen, this is what I'm saying. If you're going to make the jump to open, you're putting your shit on the line.
Agreed.
You're leaving that safety net alone. You're not going to have a safety net of, I get to go back to 212 and win. You're saying I'm going to drop the safety net and I'm going to jump into the open and really try and do my best at it. So I think to make it, it's not exciting if he gets just to go back to the 212 and win. That doesn't do anything. It's exciting if he's leaving his victory behind to chase something else.
Would you leave $50,000 behind to potentially make less at a division that you're not going to win?
Look, Flex is not hurt for money, number one.
You'll make it up. You'll make it up in appearances and exhibitions and T-shirts and bullshit.
His fan base will probably double.
Exactly.
Just for him making the challenge.
Exactly.
Just for having
in on this.
Yeah. Well, I think what we're forgetting here is if Flex was to go up to the open, he'd certainly weigh a lot more than 212. So he wouldn't be able to go back to 212 unless it was a different show. So he wouldn't be able to do both. Like Fouad said, he'd have to lay it on the line. I'm sure he'd probably go up, maybe 8 or 9 or 10 pounds of muscle to go into that open. How would he do? I don't know. I personally don't think that he would be able to break the top 6 at the Olympia. I think you guys are not really seeing for what it is. I think that, Cedric McMillan, who didn't make the top 6, or who was, would crush him. I think the 8th place guy, I think that Nathan D'Asher would have crushed him at the Olympia.
What are you smoking?
Yeah.
I think you guys don't understand. I think you guys think he looks bigger than he is. I think in a lineup of big open guys that are weighing 268 pounds, he's going to look very small. But I don't know. I haven't seen it. What I would like to see, I think would be super exciting, would be get the 212 overall champion and put him up against, Mr. Olympia, Phil Heath, in a final pose down the way they did back in Arnold's day, and let's see who wins. That's exciting. Now Flex has nothing to lose. He's the 212 champion. And now he's going up against the Open champion. Let's let the judges decide that one. That's exciting.
That's not as exciting.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Hey, what Dave is saying is exciting, but that's more of a certainty than what you just said before.
Exactly. That's a showcase of the winners.
Yeah. Phil is pretty amazing, man. Like, he's probably going to beat Flex, but I don't think it's a certainty that Cedric or Nathan can beat Flex. Like, I think he stands more of a chance than you think in the open. I don't think, just because Cedric weighs 270 pounds, and Cedric's a friend of mine, I think he's great, but, Lee Priest was outweighed by a lot of guys too, and he was still crushing people.
Fouad, Cedric won the Arnold Classic. You telling me that you think Flex Lewis in the open could win the Arnold Classic?
I'm saying I'd like to see them stand next to each other.
All right.
I'd like to see him try.
I'd like to see them stand next to each other. I really would. I'd
like to fucking be the running back in NFL, but I don't want to get my shit pushed in either.
Well, guy, you're a 212 guy. You're also very good friends with Flex. Do you think that Flex Lewis can beat Cedric McMillan?
No.
Okay.
Because listen, let's be honest. Let's be honest for a second. Bodybuilding, as much as we want to talk about its conditioning game, a lot of these judges and a lot of the fans like to see mass monsters. So you put Flex next to guys like Rolly, Cedric, Dexter, Phil, Sean Roden, Nathan. I mean, these guys are just bigger than Flex. Do I think Flex has a prettier physique? Yes, but when you add, a judge will always take a bigger guy with decent conditioning over the smaller guy that's peeled. It's happened numerous times over and over again. So and you guys got to remember, Flex he doesn't have a big appetite. He doesn't break 235 in the offseason. And he's always had stomach issues and never has a big appetite. So I don't see him coming in any higher than, 215 maybe, in that conditioning.
Well,
I don't know. I think I got to disagree with Guy. I think if Flex
You're in Canada, bro. It doesn't matter.
If Flex stood next to Cedric, I think it would be a lot closer than you guys think, because it's not just size. And you know what? He didn't. You dodged the question, Guy, because he asked you what you thought, not what you thought the judges think.
I thought Flex. All right. I think Flex, would he do decent? Yes. Would he do good or great at any shows but the Arnold and Olympia? Yes. Would he be top 5 at the Open? I mean, there's a lot of fucking. I mean, here, perfect example. Look at a guy like William Bonac. Do I think he beat Bonac?
You're not answering the question. Do you think he can beat?
Do I think he could be Cedric? I said no. The first thing I said. I said absolutely not.
No, but isn't this discussion? Isn't this something that the fans are probably wondering what would happen? I mean, just given the novelty of the situation, given what Flex Lewis says, how dominant he's been in 212, isn't this worth at least a thought?
Yes, I mean, I think it'd be worth a thought. Do I think if everybody's 100% top, let's say 8 to 10 Olympias, do I think Flex would jump in a few slots? Yes. Do I think Flex could be a top 10, maybe top 8 Open Olympia? Yes, I do. Do I think if I was Flex, I would leave a division that I was dominating to be top 8? Me? No, I wouldn't.
Let me ask you this. Would you ever have thought in your wildest dreams that Dexter Jackson would be a Mr. Olympia?
Me?
Yeah, any of you.
I was always pushing for Dexter.
I know you're pushing. Everybody wanted him to, but would the reality actually have played out?
I mean, I didn't think he'd ever beat Jay, but he did. Yes. So I agree with you.
So like I said, anything can happen.
I agree. I agree with you. Absolutely.
Well, because the other thing you said was if everybody shows up 100%. Nobody ever all shows up 100%. Except
when does that ever happen?
Flex is 100%.
You can't base a hypothetical on Flex coming in 100 and everybody coming in at 70.
No.
Hypothetical, it's got to be across the board. You can't say Flex comes in at 100. Yeah, everybody comes in at 50%.
I'm not saying everybody's going to be out of shape. I'm saying, not 10 out of 10 are going to be 100%.
Here, let's say this. I think Flex would be great in Open or 212. I think he's better in 212. Would he be decent and beat some guys in the Open class and be a contender for maybe a top 5 spot? Yes, I do.
Okay.
Go.
Are you all happy now?
I think I'm very happy. Yes. I think the fact is the fact that this discussion is so heated.
Exactly.
Shows exactly why he should jump into the.
I just seem heated, bro. I'm Italian. I'm not heated.
As Chris Aceto would say, it's like comparing the skyscrapers of Las Vegas to the skyscrapers of Manhattan when discussing this topic. You're watching Iron Debate on RxMuscle.com, brought to you by Yamamoto Nutrition and Pro10 USA, all part of our Iron Road to the Olympia. We have interviews galore on RxMuscle.com and the YouTube channel, joined right now by Guy Cisternino, Fouad Abiad, John Romano, and of course, Dave Palumbo. As we now move on to our second topic, a more serious and somber topic, as the bodybuilding world still in the grips of last week's tragic developments, starting off with the sudden passing away of Dallas McCarver. Words started to trickle out very early in the morning, and the stories were mixed, but it began to evolve. But again, the reality was that Dallas McCarver was no longer with us. And then later in the week, Rich Piana losing his battle, in a medically induced coma for almost 3 weeks. So the bodybuilding world, and of course Kyle Norris as well. So the bodybuilding world enduring some tragic news last week, and it brings up a conversation about health, especially for active IFBB pros. Dave Holloway emailed me last night talking about like Major League Baseball, the NHL, NBA, football, in the sense that they have mandatory health screening for the players, routine physicals, just to make sure everything is good internally. So the question is this: should the IFBB, should bodybuilding adopt that kind of a measure, given, of course, you're talking about a lot of bodybuilders who don't necessarily have health insurance or that safety net to fall on. is there something that should be put in place to make sure that active competitors have everything in check? Guy Cisternino, we'll go to you first in this one.
I mean, this is a hard topic because, when you talk about, in my opinion, if you're walking around without health insurance, and I don't mean this disrespectful, you're an idiot. There are jobs out there to be had. Just because you're a professional bodybuilder, I don't think that gives you a free pass to not have a job. I think a few percent of the professional bodybuilders can make a living doing what they do. And I think it's because not a lot of guys are top IFBB competitors, and a lot of them are not hustlers. A lot of these guys turn pro and they expect the money to come to them instead of them going out and hustling. I mean, I turned pro in 2008. I had a full-time fucking job. I've had a full-time job my entire life up until a couple of years ago, when, thankfully I didn't have to work, and I was making enough income, from my sponsors, from my website, from my clothing, from my training. But, I mean, shit, I played college football. I mean, they do a fucking little heart murmur test to see if you have an irregular heartbeat. They grab your balls, tell you to cough, and they send you on your fucking way. It's not like they're doing this intricate blood panel. If you're in this sport and you're not going to get checked and you're not getting blood workups to see if you're healthy, then in my eyes, you're an idiot. If you're gonna put yourself in a position to be in a sport of bodybuilding that's pushing your genetic potential, and you're taking supplements to increase your muscle, and they do have adverse effects, then you should be getting checked. And unless bodybuilding forms a union, then they're not going to pay for anything. But anybody that gets into this sport and is ignorant in the fact that they shouldn't get checked, to me is just ignorant, like I said. And to top it off, I don't think, I know this topic comes about because of Rich and because of Dallas, but those weren't steroid related deaths, in my opinion. I knew Dallas very well, and I didn't know Rich like that, but I know the causes and effects to what happened and how he passed away. But first thing everybody wants to do is point to figure out how big Dallas was or how big Rich was, and steroid this and steroid that. That's just the ignorance of the media, just trying to build some sort of news behind this, and all the TMZ bullshit that I saw. And I felt even bad for Josh, them releasing the 911 call. I just think it's a way for media to gain attention. And let's face it. The only thing that media news people want is bad fucking news. You very rarely hear of good news being portrayed on any news channel. So do I think we should be tested and have physicals? Yes. But do I think, the IFBB would be cut short of personnel because of lack of people that have health insurance and have the money to do it? Yeah. But it's almost like one of these do-it-your-own risk type of sport.
Fouad, let me go to you and let me position it this way. Let's take put it this way. So if this mandate were to go in effect, again, there have to be a service provider that be able to administer this kind of a test, take the insurance angle out of it, take the cost out of it. But in terms of an active IFBB pro or an NPC competitor, should there be some sort of regulation that, okay, hey, look, you need to get this battery of tests done in this period of time in order to compete, because we want to make sure that everything is.
Let me just cut you off before Fouad goes. If you worded it like that and they were doing it and we had to pass it, I would say 100% yes. Okay. I was taking insurance into consideration, but if IFBB set it up, then I would say fuck 100% yes, absolutely.
I think regardless of the insurance or not insurance, I think if you're going to do this sport, there's two sides to it. I think if you're going to do this sport, like I get blood work done twice a year. And I actually post about it, and people are like, "Oh, why are you showing that? Why are you doing blood work? Is it because you do, performance enhancing drugs?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's exactly why." So I think it's important to get it done a couple times a year. And I think on the IFBB's part, if they care about their athletes, then yeah, I think you should have to pass. You should have to do blood work, and it should have to show certain numbers. I don't know where those are arbitrary. Somebody would have to decide where, but it would have to show certain levels before you can compete. Now, the flip side of that is this. A blood work of like your liver, kidney, thyroid, cholesterol, whatever, is not going to determine a heart attack. Like short of getting an angiogram, nobody can tell you exactly how your heart is doing. So I think it's important, but it's not necessarily going to stop all the problems. You know what I mean?
John, let's go to you. And again, the topic is that all the professional major sports have mandatory health screening. Should the IFBB and NPC have that for its competitors?
You know, I look at this situation like this. There's a big pink elephant standing in the room, and then everybody that's got any say has got their head stuck in the sand. So they can't even see the pink elephant, let alone talk about it. So I think the federation needs to accept the fact that its constituents, to a large degree, are ignorant or lazy or incapable or too poor or whatever excuse they want to give for not maintaining, adequate health screening and preventative care, basic preventative medical care. And that's the difference between health insurance and health care. One is in case you get sick, and health care is to prevent you from getting sick. So that should be practiced, period. Now, if you want to compete in a federation and represent a federation, a fucking racehorse needs a physical before he can compete. Okay? So why is it that bodybuilders, who are hands down the most drug dependent sport on earth, next to maybe cycling or sprinting, why are they allowed to compete with the federation knowing full well to the extent to which they take their substance use and their use of PEDs, and why are they not demanding an angiogram, blood panel, full physical at the start of every competitive season to allow you to compete in their federation? Now, do they have to pay for it? I think they should. I think they should pay for the screening to allow the competitor to compete. They're paying dues every year. Where's the money going? And I think the things that stand up. I don't know if this is true. I heard that Aaron Singerman started a foundation in Dallas's name to benefit St. Jude's Children's Hospital. And I heard that, and I go, fucking Eric Trump just donated $8 million. The last thing they need is our 38 cents. Why isn't the foundation started in Dallas's name to support the health of the competitors in the federation? Why isn't anybody starting that federation? Why are we worried about kids with cancer? The world worries about kids with cancer. Nobody gives a shit about us. So why aren't we giving a shit about us? So I think it's incumbent upon the constituents that can afford it to start initiatives to promote health care and preventative health screenings for the rest of the bodybuilders. And I think it's incumbent upon the federation to demand a clean bill of health before you embark on a competitive season. And maybe you need to do that every 6 months. I don't know. These are things that will be left up to, discussion. But the fact that the federation is not acknowledging the fact that its members do a lot of drugs and there's no such thing as a safe drug, why aren't we putting in place screening processes to make sure our guys don't drop dead on stage? And we have been very fortunate in our industry that, it's why these three deaths have resonated so hard, is we haven't had any. So all of a sudden now, boom, 3 guys dropped dead. And then we had Sean Harris, last month.
Right.
Fell asleep at the wheel. I mean, some of these deaths have nothing to do with bodybuilding whatsoever. But the fact is, you want to rule that shit out. You want your guys competing at the top, the best health they can be in, angiogram, kidney function, liver, blood work, the whole 9 yards, full physical, before you're allowed to compete. You pass that, you can compete. Next year, you got to do it again.
What?
I don't know if I'm wrong on this, but I kind of don't feel like it's the federation's responsibility, and I don't think money is a scapegoat, because these guys can afford food, they can afford supplements, they can afford all their gear, but they don't put aside a couple $100 for blood work at least once a year. So I don't think money is an excuse, and I think if we're waiting for the IFBB to do it, I don't think that's going to happen. I think just like everything else in this sport, you make your own way. You know what I mean? So I think it's your responsibility to go out and make sure your health is up to par. It's just their responsibility to make sure they can see a paper. All they have to do is say, look, we want to see the doctor's paper that says your levels are at a certain point before you can compete.
Dave, let's go to you. If you advocate for this, what would you suggest in terms of a system in place to administer this kind of a testing, and what kind of regulations it would require?
It's important to know that steroids don't kill people. Okay, we know that already. Okay, or everyone would be dropping dead. Underlying heart or underlying health problems do. The problem is if you don't go to the doctor and you don't know you have them, that's problem number one. The second problem is if you go to the doctor and you do know you have them, which I know guys out there know they have problems, and they don't do anything about it because they don't want to stop competing, that's another problem. So we definitely need health screening. I think any bodybuilder who's competing out there who doesn't have health insurance is the world's biggest imbecile. I agree with Guy on that one, 100%. And I also think it might not be the IFBB's onus to pay for the testing. If you're an IFBB pro and you want to compete, you got to get a certain level of testing done, and you have to submit that paper, like Fouad said, to the IFBB for clearance. I think that's easy. Now, luckily, we don't have to do angiograms anymore to check the coronary artery vessels. We have cardiac CTs now where we can go in there and in 45 minutes, non-invasively, we can see how your blood vessels are in your coronary arteries. We have echocardiograms that can see what the heart function is and what the thickness is of the left ventricle and the cardiac output. We have blood work to see how healthy the kidneys and the liver are and the blood system is. So it's not like it's a very like a thing that's going to take 2 weeks to get done. Everyone should do it at least once a year at the beginning of the season. You submit the certain health forms that need to be filled out by your physician or cardiologist, whoever you want to go to. Send it to the IFBB. When the IFBB signs off on that and you send them whatever your dues for the year is, now you can compete for the whole year. I think a lot of guys out there know that they have health problems with their heart, their kidneys, their this, their that, and they just say, screw it, I don't care. I want to be a bodybuilder. I'll deal with the ramifications after it happens. Perfect example, and he's very vocal about it, so I'm not outing anyone. Bo Basinen, who's an IFBB pro, has had kidney problems for many years. He's talked vocally about it. He posts on it on his Facebook, and he said, look, I didn't care. I wanted to be a bodybuilder. I wasn't going to stop bodybuilding because of that, and he wound up getting to the point where he needed a kidney transplant. He got a kidney transplant from his girlfriend, and he's still trying to put weight on again, and people were bashing him on Facebook. He's like, look, my girlfriend knew when she gave me the kidney. I'm going back to bodybuilding. I have a new kidney, and I'm going to continue to train. I want to be 300 pounds, and that's who I am. So I don't know if that's responsible. I don't know if that's clear-headed thinking. I think that the IFBB should have a panel of physicians who review this blood work, who review these diagnostic tests, and then make a decision whether you're fit to compete, just like they do in football. If you had 50 concussions, okay, you got to go to a neurologist and get cleared if you want to get behind that center and take a snap as a quarterback, because the NFL doesn't want to be responsible, for getting sued, and they don't want to be responsible, certainly, if you die on that field or even off that field. Most people are not dying on a bodybuilding stage, but they're dropping outside the gym. Think about it. When you go and squat 600 pounds, if you have an underlying heart problem and you have a heart attack and you didn't even know about it, that's pretty, that's nuts. No one's dying from taking a shot of testosterone. They're dying in the gym because their bodies are not capable of handling the stress their bodies are being put under. Just like guys are dropping on the basketball court because they have an underlying heart arrhythmia that they didn't know about, and they were not cleared by a physician, and they go out there, they run around, and they drop dead because their heart throws a crazy arrhythmia. In the NBA, you got to get cleared. They would know if you had a heart arrhythmia. That's why no one in the NBA is dropping dead on these courts out there. So I think that there has to be a mandatory health policy in place. I don't know who's going to pay for it, but I certainly do think that there has to be clearance at the beginning of every season.
If any federation, boxing, Olympics, you name it, any federation pays for the drug testing. So it's okay for the federation to pay for drug testing to catch you cheating, but you're saying it's not okay for a federation to pay for health screening to make sure you don't drop dead. That makes no sense. So the federation, the reason it's important is because you want to be a cavalier dude with a born to lose tattoo on your forehead and go do all this shit and not get tested and not pay attention to your health and still compete. Well, the problem is when you drop dead, you give the sport a black eye because all of a sudden everybody comes out and the media starts bashing us and for this and the steroids and the drugs and everything, and you can't allow that to happen and maintain an image that you want to put out there. You want to put out an image that these are all healthy guys doing something healthy. We all know that's not true, but we want to at least make it look that way. So if the federation wants to exploit our or your efforts and your risks, then they should be responsible for ensuring the fact that you're not going to implode on one of their stages, period.
I don't think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Guy.
A couple points. So, John, the thing about Dallas and the foundation, that was started by Aaron and his girlfriend, and that was because that was Dallas's choice because he was a big he was a big kid advocate. He loved kids, so they were doing a foundation because of something that he wanted, not something that basically he could provide for the sport. So that's why that was done. But I was going to make a comment about what Dave said in the NFL. So when I played football for 15 years, they never had the concussion rule in play. Once you get an X amount of concussions, you were done. You had to get all this stuff done with your concussions. So I think the issue is, and it's like Dave said, a lot of this stuff is happening outside of this bodybuilding stage, not happening on stage. Now, if you had guys on stage dropping dead, I think that's when you would see a influx of people having to get health tested. Now, do I
really have to get to that point?
No, I don't think it should. But this is my argument that if you take bodybuilding out of the equation, would these guys still be taking the gear and still be going to the gym? Yes. Perfect example. I had to get I got throat surgery 2 years ago. They made me go for an EKG and an ultrasound of my heart. Now, on the ultrasound of my heart, they found that I had a small hole in my heart, which one out of every 3 people have because it's from when you were born, when you take your first couple breaths. There's a part in your heart that it's supposed to fully seal. It doesn't seal, it leaves a little gap. So you have ventricle stuff. So they said the only thing I can't really do is go scuba diving. So let's say I didn't know that I had this little hole in my heart and I went fucking scuba diving and I died. Everybody would all of a sudden go, oh, he had a bad heart. He had an enlarged heart because of steroids, because of this. When I went to the hospital after New York, and everybody started saying, "Oh, it's because of fucking DNP. It's because it was because of a fucking antibiotic and a tanning bed, for Christ's sake." So people look at bodybuilders, and the first thing they think of when they get hurt, sick, injured, die is steroids. People look at football players. The first thing they think of when they die is concussion. It's sport-based media. What they want to view it as. I feel like if you take the bodybuilding out of it, people should be going to the doctor and have health insurance anyway. It's part of being a fucking human and healthy. And I think that majority of the bodybuilders are fucking lazy and they don't want to take responsibility and get a side job or a full-time job and use bodybuilding as a hobby like it really is to most of these IFBB pros. It's not a full-time job, even though these people want to portray it to be. But fuck, I have health insurance. I pay $575 fucking dollars a month for it. If I can do it, then you can do it. That means you got to go to a fucking Burger King and flip burgers for 40 hours, fucking pay your bills, and you fucking do it. You're a grown-ass fucking man and woman. Like, this is the part of fucking life. Just because you have a pro card doesn't mean you shouldn't fucking work. That's what aggravates me. But do I think it should be mandatory, like John said, to be fucking tested? Yes, absolutely.
I think Guy's angry.
Because I think I'm allergic. I'm allergic to dumb shit, and I think people not fucking getting updates and getting fucking their health checked is fucking stupid. And if people drop dead because of that one thing, then that's on them. But I know Dallas. I saw things with Rich. I know Dallas got checked. I know Rich got checked. But everyone wants to point the finger to steroid this and steroid that. These fucking people don't know anything. But I think it should be mandatory that we should have to show that we're healthy in some aspect, or just do a random, randomly select guys to get, not drug tested, but health tested throughout the year.
There's more than one reason to get tested, though. I mean, we keep talking about death like it's the only thing wrong.
No, it's health.
I think you can destroy your kidneys, you can destroy your liver, you can destroy, you can get diabetes, you can do all these things. So I think mandatory health checks aren't just for, oh, we want to make sure you don't die. It's to make sure, you're not just destroying your body in the process.
Yeah, like I said, take the bodybuilding out of it, and you still should be going.
Well, I mean, we need to. I mean, as bodybuilders, I think we're kind of dumbing it down a little bit. To be honest with you, I'm not saying it's the steroids, but we put a lot of pressure on our bodies with the amount of food we eat, with the amount of size. Like I walk around at 280 pounds all year. That's not healthy. So it's like it's not the steroids directly, but indirectly, it's the size we're carrying around. It's the amount of food we're eating. So we're not the average person, and we do need to check ourselves more often than the guy just walking down the street that eats 1 or 2 meals a day.
It's the lifestyle. It's the lifestyle that can cause the problems. My point is, look, the federations, just like all the other sports federations, make money off the athletes. And if you're making money off the athletes, I think you owe them some shred of responsibility, because you know what they're doing in order to make it to your stage and compete for you and allow you to exploit them. And that's why I think it is incumbent upon you to ensure the fact that those following that kind of lifestyle are healthy. And if you're gonna reap the benefit of their work and their dedication and all of the money that they spend on their food and their gear and their training and everything, if you're gonna reap a benefit off of that, you should provide the health screening necessary to ensure the fact. If it was mandatory that you would have to test for drugs, you would be paying for that test. So you're going to pay for the test anyways. Might as well pay for the health screening, just like every other sports federation does that takes care of their athletes.
I think
if you ask Fouad, John, I think if you ask the panel, most of the bodybuilders that I know, friends that are amateurs and pro, the main reason they don't get tested, and it's so fucking dumb, is because I always hear, well, I'm kind of scared to know the results. Well, if that's your answer, then that's more of a reason to fucking go to the doctor and check. I mean, am I right or am I wrong?
No, you're 100% right.
100% right.
Great. I don't want to know what it's going to say. Well, when you fucking end up, 6 feet under the fucking ground, you're going to be wondering if you should have got the fucking test or not.
I don't think it's hard to administer either. I mean, look, I got online clients. First thing I do when they start with me is they get blood work done, and I make them scan the sheet and email it to me. So it's not like it's really not a difficult process to put in.
Dave, I know you have your hands full. You want to get a final word on this one?
My son has the final word, as you can hear him in the background.
The final word.
But I want to say it in response to what Guy said. Guy, I'm allergic to death. Okay, and so at some point, a lot of people say, "Oh, why did Dave? Dave's so skinny. He's sick and he's that and he this." Look, I'm allergic to dying. So at some point, I said to myself, "Look, it's not functional to be 300 pounds. It's probably not functional to be 250." So I downsized as I got older to keep my health, markers in the right range: blood pressure, heart rate, my blood panels, kidney function, liver function. And I go once a year and I get echocardiograms and EKGs, and I've had a cardiac CAT scan to see if my blood vessels are open. I want to know. I want to know because if I can prevent it, I want to be able to prevent it. I know what you're saying. Everyone made a very valid point. A lot of bodybuilders don't want to know. Or when they do find out, they just go into denial because bodybuilding is such an integral part of everything that they are about that for them to give that up, especially at a young age like Dallas McCarver was at, would be incomprehensible. They would rather not live. I know it sounds ridiculous to say that, and I'm sure they would rather live, but a lot of times they lay it on the line because of that, and they figure, well, you know what, if I don't think about it, maybe I'll be fine. And unfortunately, in every small percentage of cases, they lead to fatalities, and that's that's what's so. I think that's what's angering Guy Cisternino so much because he and I and all of us on this panel know that a lot of these things are avoidable. And when we see people die because of being scared or ignorant or just not giving a crap, okay, it pisses us off. Because we don't want to see anyone die because we're all in this together. We're all iron brothers. We understand the lifestyle and the mentality, and this can be done safely. And if for some reason you're one of these rare percentage of the populations that have an arrhythmia or have only, like Dave Lieberman has, only one kidney he was born with, then you got to deal with it. That's the hand you were dealt with. I'd rather be alive than dead because I couldn't bodybuild. And I think that, by the federation in putting together some kind of health guidelines and health clearance, it will force these people that are denying what's going on in their lives to acknowledge it and to have to deal with it. And I think that will save lives. People might tell me I'm wrong, but I don't agree with that. I think it will save lives.
And to go off of Dave's point, Dave, look, one thing that I told, my family and friends when we talk about bodybuilding, I say the day that I go to the doctor and the doctor tells me that, whoa, something ain't right, is the day I'm fucking retired. I'm done. I'm not dying for a sport. But it's sad in a sense that when these fatalities happen, the media points the finger at the steroids, which if you know anything about history, is that steroids never caused a death. I think it's a combination of a lot of things and people not getting checked. And it was something else I wanted to touch on, which I was going to get heated about. It's just like here, I'm not going to throw out fucking names, but they want to do screenings. I won't mention names, but you guys know who I'm going to talk about. There's some old and new bodybuilders that have kidney issues who've retired and now want to come back in another division and they want to compete. Shit, if I had one kidney or if I was on kidney dialysis, I wouldn't be fucking competing. So it's like I wouldn't allow somebody like that to even compete, and because I think that's a real big insurance policy if something happened to somebody on stage that is known to be doing dialysis for a long time or has kidney problems. So like Fouad said, I get that should be the first thing that we do is get checked.
I think I just have one more thing to say about it. I don't think if anybody's watching who is one of those guys that's scared to check their levels, the beauty of it is easy to fix.
Yep.
If you go in and you got liver issues, you got kidney issues. I've had elevated levels. It's not hard to take a break, get your body back. Your body will rebound quickly, and you can get back to doing what you want to do. But if you don't get checked, then you're just, it makes no sense at all.
And I'll touch real quick. I know we can go on topic forever, but like Fouad just said, I think a lot of the issues come from guys. And we'll all laugh when I say it. How many times you hear people go, "Oh, when I come off, I shrink. I'm not strong. I lose." It's like, no, you lose strength because you start training like a fucking pussy, and you fucking lose size because you stop eating. People start thinking that, oh my God, if I come off, PEDs for a week, that's it. I'm going to drop fucking 50 pounds. So they stay on for 5 fucking years and wonder why their kidneys and livers are shot. Because listen, anything in excess is bad. You drink too much fucking water, you could drown, for Christ's sakes. So, it's too much shit in excess is bad for you. And people don't know the limits. And I think pushing the limits is better. But Fouad will shake his head yes, but as I was younger, I might have, said no. But now that I'm older, less is better, man. Less is fucking better, period.
That's going to do it for this episode of Iron Debate, brought to you by Yamamoto Nutrition and Pro10 USA. A whole lot of interviews coming up over the course of the next week and a half as we lead you into the 2017 Olympia. For John Romano, Fouad Abiad, Guy Cisternino, Dave Palumbo, and our producer, Johnny Styles, doing an excellent job as always. I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.